Hello and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. It wouldn't be happy hour without Brian Kilmeade, who has been the most frequent visitor
Really?
to this day of the week in the Kennedalia universe. Brian, I've made you the Kilmeade Kooler. Enjoy. Please don't ask what's in it.
What's in it?
Don't ask. Cheers
Thank you.
to the Kilmeade Kooler.
It's uplifting.
That's quite good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's better than I thought.
I would have much more of it if I wasn't doing the 5 later. They have a sobriety test. I'm going to have to blow into a breathalyzer. That's why so many times Tyrus is supposed to do the 5 and at the last minute fails the sobriety test.
Yeah, I think he's okay. Tyrus he's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
So
Brian,
Brian,
think I could take him?
I do actually because I know
Because that's your third one.
I pre-gamed before this, Brian. We're best friends. Yeah, I do think you could take Tyrus.
All right.
No one else in the building.
You mean I couldn't take anyone else in the building, or no one else in the building?
I was going to say no one else in the building could take Tyrus, but I think it's really funny to think that you could take no one else in the building.
Right.
Like
Okay.
Eric Sean. Good luck.
Yeah, good. Not in the octagon.
Special
kidding me?
Forces. No.
Right.
He would annihilate you.
Right.
So what book are you working on right now? Because I know you're working on something. You're like a shark. You can't sleep. You got to keep going.
No, I'm not working on a book right now. First time in a long time because I'm not in the middle of a book. I want to take a break and doing those live shows.
Yeah.
And they're getting
That's
better
great.
and better.
I see the live shows. I follow you on Instagram.
Right.
I
And
see you with people. You're a man of the people. You running for president?
I wouldn't cross it out. I mean,
Really?
Yeah. I wouldn't
Someone from Fox has to run for president.
Right. I mean, who knows? There might be people running for president right now
Oh, no, we would know right now. Like, we're pretty sure we know.
because we kick them out. Okay, once you run for president,
No, the election's in
you can't do
November. Like,
both.
if you haven't declared by now, you're not doing very good.
Well, we never know because Kamala Harris, the new Kamala Harris, is somebody I never expected to see.
She's amazing. She's transformational. She's smart. She's with it.
Unlike the vice president, who is everything but that.
Yeah, bumbling gaff machine.
Right.
Incapable of getting anything
She
done.
was so much younger then. She was just coming up.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're talking 2 weeks ago.
There's a maturation process in politics. We all know that.
Right. And
No one just falls out of the coconut tree and they're diplomatically brilliant.
Right. I'm fascinated by someone who changes every stance without actually saying it. Has an anonymous person write a newspaper to announce it.
Yes.
That is, no one's thought of that. Like the Bush family, nobody.
Yeah.
The Roosevelts, not one
Would have
person
been
came up
helpful.
with that.
Yeah. Hillary Clinton would have been great if
Well,
she could
she
be like,
would-
I didn't try and come up with socialized medicine in 1994.
Right.
Ew, who would do that?
My husband.
They didn't do anything with anyone ever. Hates women.
Right.
Except for me. He's not gay. So I think that Kamala Harris actually has a really good shot to win. And I think people who don't acknowledge that are dumb.
Do you think that people really think she doesn't have a shot to win?
I think there are wishful thinkers who
Right.
hope she
Oh,
doesn't
it's
have
gonna
a
be-
shot to win.
But you just know, but put it this way, with all the failings of Joe Biden,
Yes.
everything's chronicled. He still was within few points of Trump.
Yes.
Even after cratering at that debate.
Yeah.
Still unable to finish a thought, 3 bad network interviews, 5 mediocre appearances, and he's still losing donors. Put 30 Democratic senators said, I'm not going to vote for, I'm not going to support him. And he still was within a few points of Trump because that's how evenly divided this country is.
It is divided. We have to get over the divide because it's not acceptable.
For a country.
No.
If you want the country to be good.
Would you ever vote for RFK Jr.?
Not yet. I find it a little destabilizing. I just would like to know a little bit more about him. I don't think you can just knock out. Did he eat a dog or a calf or something? What did he eat?
Oh, and that's how he got the brain parasites?
Yeah, could that be?
That could be.
There's a lot of stories out there. Yeah. I'm him and J.D. Vance's foreign policy scare me.
J.D. Vance is not my favorite politician ever.
Right. But
there are a lot of liberty-minded Democrats, though, or Republicans, rather. There are very few liberty-minded Democrats left. Beto O'Rourke used to be one, and then he shifted. He's like, oh, I'm not getting any traction. I have to go way far left. Like, I can't go, like, libertarian, bro. I have to go, like, full AOC.
And you know what the best example was?
And he almost became, and I'm not going to say, I'm actually going to edit myself for the first time.
Ever?
Maybe ever.
Well, I love when he said, I'm not for the wall. Oh, I'm glad you edited yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah. He was going to take down the wall.
Yeah.
That's a little.
Yeah, he's going to take it down with his bare hands. Like, we're taking this down. It's like, well, maybe there's some people, like, can we acknowledge that there are some people you don't want in the country? Like, there are a lot of people who would be great in the country.
Right.
And maybe for a little while. Maybe not citizenship, because that's pretty sacred.
Right.
Maybe people coming over, working hard, sending money home, going back and forth.
Yeah, we just need a way to organize it.
Yeah. No organization.
Right.
But tearing down the wall may not be.
See, why did Biden not hire him?
Beto O'Rourke? Because he's an empty soy boy, I think.
Oh, I don't think. So you think that Joe Biden would recognize that?
No, but I think his handlers would.
Oh.
Yeah. I think they focus group enough stuff that they would be like, yeah.
I have a theory. I'm not a conspiracy guy.
Please. Do you think there was a second shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania?
Oh, no. No one cares about that.
Oh,
but I would say
I do.
in June, Joe Biden did a debate.
Yes.
No one wanted this debate. Trump's like, okay, I told you I'd do it. I do it. Nobody said, well, you got to debate Trump. He's only trailing by 2 or 3 points. There's no reason to panic. So who pushed him to do that? It was Anita Dunn.
The people who were pushing him out.
Right.
But Anita Dunn, who has already stepped away from the Biden administration, she knows that there's no future for her in a Harris administration. And if Joe Biden wins, he's not going to stay president for very long. And she's going to get blamed for everything. And they did all kind of circle the wagons against her.
Do you think Obama called up Anita Dunn and said, Trump really will debate if you just invite him? Why don't we invite him early enough to blow him up and get rid of him?
Yeah.
Because Kamala Harris was so organized coming out of the gates. They have all these things booked, handled, people hiring the Stallion, my favorite rapper.
Yeah.
The Stallion, not the. The. Great lyrics. In fact, why don't you sing them? No, okay.
You want me to sing WAP? Okay, you do the Cardi B part. Ready?
I actually don't even know.
Get a bucket, get a mop. No,
Don't
okay,
have it.
good.
So
That's good. That actually, like,
do you think there's a theory?
that gives me faith in the world that you don't know any of the lyrics to that song.
Is
still
there a
think you might
theory
be
that they put him out there to explode him?
Yes.
And do you
Yes,
think that that's going to be the
because
story?
he was stubborn. He wasn't going to go on his own. They over-prepared him. They under-medicated him. They didn't, it's like now we kind of figured out they didn't give him the State of the Union cocktail. Speaking of which, do you not like the Kilmeade Kooler?
I'm a little worried because there is alcohol in it.
No, there's not. It's a mocktail, Brian.
Oh,
I don't put alcohol in these
Okay,
drinks.
good.
There is some Celsius in here. Lemon lime Celsius.
You know,
And
good.
some Pamplemousse LaCroix.
I'm glad you gave me the energy drink because I'm in the Olympics later.
I don't know if you'd be able to have the energy drink in the Olympics.
Can you?
If you're a woman, you can have a penis, but you cannot have any performance-enhancing drugs.
I mean, do you believe this?
No.
I mean, they let a man fight a woman.
Yeah,
Doesn't
she
even
took 2
look
punches
like a
to the
woman.
face, and she's like, I can't do this. I'm going to get seriously injured.
Right, the Italian.
And she was devastated.
Right, she's like, she had this thing called a dream.
Yeah.
And she wanted to fulfill that dream and fight against other people who were women.
I mean, also, they wouldn't let her fight against a 300-pound woman. Like, there are weight classes.
Yes. Right.
And there are presumably also gender classes because they keep men's boxing and women's boxing separate.
Yeah, it's crazy. I am so angry because I love boxing. There was a time, and you were in grade school. I'm older, and you used to count on the next great boxing class winning the Olympics, even if it was an East German or whatever it was. You go, okay, I want to see what that guy does when he goes pro.
Yeah.
It made it fun.
Yeah.
It's almost like you watch a guy in college, and then you wonder, what kind of pro is he going to be? Somehow that just stopped because the American people thought boxing was too brutal, but they look terrible because UFC is fine. So you can't tell me boxing's too brutal and UFC is not physical at all.
I remember MMA before UFC, and they were just like pulling hair.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was like Fight Club. There were no rules.
Were you alone just watching that?
No, I watched it with
people?
family and
Okay.
friends. I grew up watching a lot of boxing. I've always loved pugilism. I think it is perhaps our purest sport.
Right.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
I had the best interview with the bare knuckle boxer guy. You would love this guy.
Wow.
He grew up, his dad used to fight for money. This goes back to the days of John L. Sullivan, where if you know, because you're a fighter, if you hit somebody as hard as you can with a bare, without gloves,
You're going to break your hand.
breaks your hand.
Yes.
So you have to be able to hit people and not break your hand.
Yeah.
So, and evidently you can't just go and just say, okay, I'm having a bare knuckle fight.
Yeah.
Up until recently. You have to go, okay, Costco's over there. Nobody's in the back. Next thing you know, guys come out from everywhere. They're throwing money down, and you're fighting. So it's like a rave.
It's better than cockfighting.
Right.
Because that's like mean to the animals.
Right. And you have other people, and then the loser dies.
Yeah.
So,
That's not good.
Right. If you're
That's like some Michael Vick stuff, but with humans.
Right. If you're a cock, it's not good.
No.
But you're so much better if you're a person.
Yes. Still not good to have people die fighting each other. But, I mean, I'm not anti-trans. I think that there should be some sort of an open category for
Trans
people
games.
to acknowledge back and forth, like, there is this gray area. But I don't think so. I was watching Simone Biles, just marveling at her. I think she is an incredible, like, her comeback is extraordinary.
27 years
because
old.
a lot of people have setbacks. They don't do well. They mess up in the moment. They give up completely. She didn't. And the fact that she didn't and kept going and somehow got better is a testament to a quality that I think all humans can possess, but very, very few cultivate. And it made me realize in 2028, when the Olympics finally come back to the United States and we're in Los Angeles,
She will be a
I
color
will be
commentator.
so excited to see the men competing in women's gymnastics.
That'll be great.
Like the
Especially
stuff they're going to do.
Especially the uneven bars. Just one time and, wait a
Oh,
second.
man.
Yeah.
What am I writing? The baby maker.
Yeah, I should have worn a cup. But, people talk about setbacks influencing you. I went through my Wikipedia bio, no setbacks.
Oh,
Right?
Brian.
Yeah, everything's
Wow.
been pretty easy.
You have a great editor.
Right.
Because I'm
I-
sure there were setbacks along the road.
Not according to Wikipedia.
Wow. What a charmed life. Maybe that's why you have all this energy to do 6 hours of broadcasting a day before you go home and write your books.
Right. Today, it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then I can go home.
Yeah.
And not write a book because I'm really not writing. I know you don't believe me, but I'm really not writing.
I'm looking forward to that sequel to the Grant book.
Right. Well, I'll give you an idea about sequels.
Okay.
When the main character dies at the end, it's
Yeah.
hard to get momentum for a sequel.
It is, but then you can imagine the afterlife.
Right.
So I've got a good one for you. I was
Ulysses S. Grant,
talking with
man.
my editor from the Daily Mail about this before I went and saw former President Trump's speech at the RNC in Milwaukee, because it was a wild time and you didn't know what he was going to say. The mood was already
Either did he.
strange but unified. Yeah, exactly. In Milwaukee. And so I said to my editor, because we were talking about, like, what will the arc of the piece be? And I said, what would happen to history if Lincoln and JFK had lived?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that would be a good book for you.
What if they lived?
Yeah. Because Trump almost died.
Right.
So what if the same thing had happened to either Lincoln or JFK? Like, how different
Right.
would we have gotten ourselves so deep in Vietnam? I mean,
Well, the Kennedy people say no. The Kennedy people said he was into advisors, yes, but he never would have escalated like that.
Yeah.
And LBJ, though, some of those, I didn't do Robert Caro type of deep dive into LBJ, but evidently he was just obsessed with not losing. He
Yes.
couldn't be the first president to lose
but
the
he
war.
also had McNamara. So McNamara and JFK were also very, very close.
Right.
So how much of McNamara's influence was our involvement in Vietnam dependent upon?
That's true. And didn't he come clean on 60 Minutes years later about this?
There was a really good documentary on Robert McNamara, and it was very emotional, and he looked back on his life. Very, very smart person.
And did he die?
He's no longer with us.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Did you want to call him?
I was thinking that'd be a good guess.
Yeah, that'd be a great guess. But I do think that would be an interesting book for you. Like, what if Lincoln had lived?
Right. I'd rather not do that.
It's a big book.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very important book.
I don't have an imagination.
You're an important man.
Right. But I can't say that enough.
Okay,
Actually,
but you know about
what happened next?
Andrew Johnson.
But here's what I've always said this.
You know about Ulysses S. Grant. Maybe we wouldn't have had a Johnson. Maybe it would have gone Lincoln, Grant. How much different would the South have been?
And how about this? Who says Lincoln was only going to serve 2 terms? He was in his 50s. And they're at that point up until FDR. They always said you can serve more than 2 terms.
Grant ran for a 3rd term,
Right.
almost won. But yeah, Lincoln, and he wanted to get away from Mary Todd. You know, she's
Right.
like, "Meh."
And she's a spendaholic.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No.
She spent a ton of money. And
Doesn't
after he
surprise
dies,
me.
and they're like, listen, you got to go. He's like, I still need the expense account.
They're like,
need
no,
what?
that's not how this works.
Right. Her son ended up putting her into an asylum.
Asylum, yes.
Right.
Which is wild because he's like, Mom, you're nuts.
Right.
But she had, at that point, lost 2 children.
Yeah.
Oof.
Been through a lot. But, you know, I don't think there's, like, Lincoln didn't have a lot of selection. It's not like he didn't have an app where you can look around for somebody else. I mean, it's like, she looks good. I'll hold on to her. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
With a
There was no swiping.
Chronic depression, love to.
Yeah, and then when you're married, like, there weren't like, hello, I'm a divorce attorney.
Right.
I see that you're finishing your escargot. Maybe you'd like to call me when this whole thing implodes.
Right. That never happened.
No, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah. You know what the things that sucks about the colonists? They did not eat
What
escargot.
if like Lincoln had access to Tinder? Like, that's a funny book.
I could see Lincoln coming out against it because he was a Republican.
Yeah, maybe he'd have his hookups, like St. Augustine, like lived a really naughty time.
Oh, yeah.
And then later on was like, oh man, I gotta not do this
Yeah,
anymore.
I could die and I'm going to hell.
Yeah, now I gotta come out like against all the fun stuff.
That's one thing good, really good about God. He will forgive you, but you got to ask.
You gotta ask.
Right.
You gotta kind of work on it
So
too.
if you die and you get up there, hypothetically, and the guy's like, you never asked.
No, and you just
You
thought
could, you could go now.
the gravy train just kept going.
Right. Just go, listen, I really need to ask. You couldn't tell that I was screwing up and I needed forgiveness. And I thought you were God.
Yeah, like you know this stuff.
Right.
You know the future. You have foreknowledge.
Yeah.
Ah, man. So, yeah, that's important lessons for your next book. St. Augustine, Lincoln, JFK, walk into a bar.
Right. And nobody picks up the
And
check.
Brian Kilmeade's like, I'm on the 5 later. I can't drink with you guys.
One thing, is that my impression? I sound like I just like inhaled helium. So Brian, that's the impression when I'm not around. Let's do
No,
my.
you don't even want to hear
Brian.
the impression when you're not around. That's when you are around.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of sad. What should my one more thing be tonight?
Probably the Kilmeade Kooler. Give the recipe for it.
And it dates back how many years? It's been in my family forever.
20 minutes.
Right.
Yes.
This has been
My great-great-grandmother on the plains used Celsius.
had a podcast.
Had a podcast. Mixed it with lime juice and LaCroix. And here we are. Back to you, Dana.
See, this is a great studio.
Thank you.
Do you like it?
I love it.
I
think
would.
it's
I would
amazing.
live here.
I didn't want to tell you, but this actually pulls out into a cot. I've got a hot pot over here.
Because when I
coffee
walk in
maker.
the morning to do the radio show, I always say to people, "Why are you whispering?" They go, "Kennedy's sleeping." So,
At noon.
right, it is.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It's 9 a.m.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
first
wake up
hour.
at noon.
Yeah, you wake up at noon. So it
Like,
makes a lot
people
of
are
sense.
so reverent and respectful.
What show
These
are you on? Last
quiet
night you were
voices.
on Gutfeld.
I was. Yeah.
And you said, I like to do Gutfeld. And they go, what day? And they go, what day is Brian hosting? And I told them Tuesday.
Yeah.
And you said,
I was like,
I'll go Wednesday. I'll go Wednesday.
Yeah.
You should host that show.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell him. I'm going to go take Greg this Gutfeld cooler. All right. Cheers to you and yours. Have a wonderful weekend. Brian Kilmeade is working on his next book. It's already a bestseller. This has been Kennedy Saves the World Happy Hour along with Brian Kilmeade. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.